think we're set. Yeah. So, hi, I'm Harsh Maskara, and this is another podcast from Immortal Tortoise, where we talk all things mental health, right? So, today I have a very special guest with me by the name of Sanyam, and he prefers to remain anonymous. That's why his video is also off. So, we will respect his privacy and refer to him as Sanyam during the course of this podcast. Right? Just a brief background about Sanyam before we get into the discussion. Sanyam is a bipolar 2 survivor, and he's been susceptible to depression for a long period of time, as long as he can remember possibly. And he was misdiagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder initially when he went to a psychiatrist, and then only a few years later was he able to get the right diagnosis of bipolar 2. And now he's on medication, and he also has made changes in his diet and lifestyle in order to manage and thrive with the condition. Right. So, Rahim, if there was anything inaccurate in what I said, please point it out before we get into the discussion.
No, I just wanted to say that I have stopped taking medication with advice of my psychiatrist. But
Okay.
everything else is like on the point.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So, Sayam, if you can just tell me how old you are and since when have you uh, been under under the case of bipolar?
So I just turned 29 a few months ago,
Okay.
and about my bipolar. So even as a child, I used to feel that there's something different about me. Like
Hmm.
I would just not be like ordinary children, like all the time happy, and
Hmm.
they would be like cheerful and all.
Hmm.
And I used to feel that there's something wrong with me. Like every
Hmm.
day, or especially as a child, in the evenings, I used to feel very sad for no reason.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
evening comes and I would start feeling sad. And
Hmm.
then as I grew older, as in my teenage, the symptoms or it became much more manifested. Then
Hmm.
the sad phases used
Hmm.
to last for months, and the
So
happy days were only
so if I may interrupt, how old were you at this point? Like when you started feeling that you were different?
uh, I think around uh, I was 7 to 8 years old when I started to
7 to
feel.
8 years old. So basically as far as back as you can remember.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And given the difference in your attitude through the day,
Hmm.
and given that you used to feel sad and different from other children,
Yes.
was this noticed by your near and dear ones, such as any siblings or parents or anything?
Like my mother did notice it, but she never really gave much attention to it. Like,
Okay.
and nobody in my school like noticed this mood fluctuation thing.
Okay.
But yes, I like some teachers used to say that I am very careless in school. So that's
Okay.
another case.
Curious
That,
meaning strange or curious meaning inquisitive?
uh, mm, can you please repeat the question? I'm not
Curious
sure.
meaning strange. I mean कि अजीब सा है. Curious meaning inquisitive, meaning he asks a lot of questions.
No, I would say both. I used to ask a lot of questions, and I had like was very offbeat from other students, even as a child.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Go on with the story. Before you, so you knew that you were slightly different, and your mood used to fluctuate, and by evening time you used to feel sad
Yeah,
for no
that
reason.
was in childhood. As
Right.
in teenage, that the periods of sadness started to become longer and longer.
Okay.
So yeah, and teenage somehow I managed. Then when it came to college,
Uh-huh.
back in 2015, like when I was in my college,
Uh-huh.
there was almost 4 or 5 months at a stretch when I felt like not waking up the next day. So that
Okay.
was, I believe, one of the longest stretch I was going through a phase of depression.
And did anybody notice this? Your warden or friends or roommates? Anybody?
I mean, people noticed, but they didn't really care because
Right.
everyone is busy with their own lives.
Correct. Correct. Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Go on. So
and
you've also mentioned in your profile, which you shared with me, that you got addicted to video games. So
yeah,
when
that
did
was
that
in my
happen,
teenage.
and how did that happen?
So basically, I could not really relate or socialize with other people around me in school.
Mm.
So I started like, and I was always curious about technology and computers. Like,
Hmm.
so once I got a computer back when I was 14 or 15 years old,
Hmm.
and then internet happened, and so I started like figuring my way out
Hmm.
how to like find video games and download. So I
Hmm.
mean, I'm casually admitting to online piracy, video game piracy,
Hmm.
but yeah. I
Hmm.
used to play a lot of video games, and that gave me a solace because couldn't
Hmm.
really socialize with other people, could not relate
Hmm.
to my classmates or my
Hmm.
cousins or my other friends. So video
Right.
games
Right.
gave me a solace.
So this was in college also?
By my third year of college, I stopped playing video games. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And what did you substitute video games with? Like, or did the society become more manageable as you became older? How did that happen?
No, I simply lost my interest in video games. It's like
Okay.
it's not that I found something else, but I just
Okay.
on my own lost interest. So it got turned into for a while social media addiction like
Okay.
Facebook and Instagram and lot of
Hmm.
Reddit, and
Hmm.
then for a brief period it got turned into pornography. So
Okay.
internet has been there like throughout
Right.
this, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So after pornography, I came back. I went into reading fan fiction. I used to
Okay.
read uh, Wikipedia articles, like just reading and reading and reading, like
Interesting.
purposelessly, not something which is useful for me in life. I just wanted to keep engaging myself.
What about physical activity? Are you overweight? Are you fit? Do you like to play sports? How does that work?
Uh, in teenage, I was quite active, but in my college, I stopped. Like I go to gym on and off. Like I go
Okay.
for 2 3 months, then I stop. So
Hmm. And now,
yeah,
what is the case?
right now, so I have taken up running. So
Okay.
so in summers I prefer swimming, and in winters I prefer running. So that's
Okay.
how like more
But
into cardio.
that is a definite part of your daily routine.
I would not say daily routine, but yes, in a week I run for 3 or 4 days.
Okay. Okay. Great. Awesome. Go on with your story before I interrupted you.
Yeah. So where was I? Was
So
I?
you were talking about the fact that you went off video games towards the
Yeah.
end of
So
college.
yeah, after video games, so it became like told you social media and then
Correct.
pornography.
We
Then
covered that.
again,
After that,
yeah, and so then I went for my masters in a different city.
okay.
Yeah. So it was a new city. So for some while I felt very happy. Like I felt the happiest I had been.
So this is
Uh,
in tech. Would be safe to assume that this master's and graduation was in engineering?
no, no. My bachelor's and my master's both are very non-technical subjects,
Okay.
and I'll not give more information because that would be
Sure, sure,
identifying me.
sure, sure, sure.
Uh, but yes, my bachelor's was in a very like very unconventional field, which
Okay.
is not a choice of many students.
Right.
11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did my master's, which was again not related to what I did in bachelor's, so that was
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So again, it was another unconventional thing I did.
Mm.
So yeah, for my masters, I went to a different city than my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first 3 4 months, it was like amazing. I was on top of the world,
Mm.
and then the crash happened, and then the depression, the suicidal feelings
Mm.
came up again, and much worse than before. Because for
Mm.
those 3 4 months, I thought, "Ki, acha, I am cured now. I had no issues at all. I was just pretending in my head."
Were you under any psychiatric treatment at this time?
No, that's when the crash happened again. That's when I first went to the psychiatrist,
Okay.
and that's when the first misdiagnosis happened.
Correct, correct, correct.
So apparently that psychiatrist was very well reputed in
Mm.
that city.
Mm.
I went there, but he just gave me 5 minutes and he just said, okay, you have OCPD, take
Correct.
these medicines, and yeah. So I
Yeah,
realized that
I can identify with your story, Sanyam, because when I was in my early 20s, I used to end up thinking a lot, overthinking. So I went to see a psychiatrist who said that I had OCD, and I started taking pills. And
okay,
then later on, I met another psychiatrist, and that person said, "No, no, you don't have OCD. You're perfectly fine." That was early 20s. It was towards the end of my 20s that I got diagnosed with bipolar 1 because I had a manic attack, which put me in the hospital for 4 5 days. Right.
okay. Hmm.
So that's part of my story.
So that OCD, like you said, OCD, mine on OCPD. So
Right.
OCPD is just OCD is about a few things, right?
Right.
And OCPD is your entire personality is like that.
Correct. Correct.
But I realized that that's not me because OCPD has controlling tendencies and everything, but I am not
Mm.
like that. My
Mm.
issue was always with mood. Like,
Mm.
if, like I used to feel sad for no reason. Then there were days when I used to feel happy for no reason. Like
Mm.
nothing out of the ordinary has happened.
But what about your food choices? How has that? How has that been over the years?
So I always have been a non-vegetarian.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will come to back to food choices because
Sure.
because that plays a big role how
Sure.
I'm managing my bipolar currently.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So after my masters, like in masters, attempted my I attempted suicide once. That was on my birthday. Very
Wow. Okay.
coincidentally, like
Okay.
on my own birthday, I felt like I should just kill myself, and
And what year? What? How old were you then?
that was my third birthday. Yes.
23rd birthday. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So and that day I went to the railway station,
Hmm.
and I thought, okay, I'll just jump in whatever next train is going to come.
Hmm.
But before that, I called one of my friends from
Hmm.
my school,
Hmm.
who also happened to be in the same city at that time.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
just called him to say, "Ki, just pick up my body and send it to home."
Hmm.
But fortunately, he talked to me for an hour, and
Hmm.
that didn't really solve anything. I still felt suicidal. I still
Hmm.
felt like killing myself.
Hmm.
But at least I didn't do it that day.
Hmm.
I just went back to my hostel and stayed there.
Yeah, I've experienced a similar condition, same, because I also had suicidal thoughts. Once I had got the diagnosis and I was on medication, and the medication drugged me and made me feel very lazy and depressed. And I had suicidal thoughts, and then I called up the suicidal helpline, and they told me that even Honey Singh is bipolar, which I didn't know at that time.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, fine. If a person like Honey Singh, although I'm not a big fan of his music, can be
Mm.
bipolar and be so successful, it's not such a big deal, you know.
Yes.
Go on.
Mm. So that was almost 6 7 years ago, and then I went to another psychiatrist, no, not psychiatrist, psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
and that person was much better. Like
Hmm.
they didn't diagnose me or anything; they just said "Ki you might have bipolar tendencies."
Ah.
So that's when it started to click.
Hmm.
Maybe it's not depression. Maybe because in depression you wouldn't feel happy.
Correct.
It was not just happiness. It was extraordinary happiness, which I didn't
Correct.
know.
Correct.
Ki,
Which is mania or
that
hypomania.
exactly that this is called hypomania.
Correct.
Yeah. So in my hypomanic phases, when I didn't know that this is called hypomania,
Hmm.
I used to feel so social, so
Hmm.
extravaganza. Like I used to spend a lot.
Hmm.
I used to be hypersexual. I used to like talk to
Hmm.
random strangers and
Hmm.
socialize a lot, which I would never do in my normal phase.
Correct.
Because my normal always has been depressed.
Correct.
So I would socialize, I would spend, and then I would start indulging in alcohol usage, excessive
Hmm.
alcohol and drugs. Also
Hmm.
experimented
Right.
very risky behavior I used to engage in.
Hmm.
But that used to last for 3 4 days. I wouldn't sleep enough.
Hmm.
Like I remember once I went 3 days with only 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
And nobody noticed this?
No, because suddenly some people used to start finding me more interesting than before. So
Okay.
I thought, okay, this is how I should be.
Hmm.
But then obviously the crash happens sooner or
Hmm.
later, and then the crash happened. Then again, I was back to my depressed self.
And you were on no bipolar medication at this point.
No, at that point, I didn't even know that this is bipolar. So,
Right. Right.
like
Then
the
what happened? Did you go to a psychiatrist?
no, the guy who diagnosed me with OCPD, he gave me antipsychotic or anti-anxiety drugs. I don't remember
Right.
which one. So I didn't really take them long.
Hmm.
So and uh, so when I went to another city like after my
Hmm.
masters,
Hmm.
and in that city again I worked for 1 year. That was
Hmm.
my first job,
Hmm.
uh, and again that depression became much
Hmm.
like
Right.
it became very
Hmm.
difficult to manage. But
Hmm.
I noticed a pattern that
Hmm.
whenever I don't eat by my choice,
Hmm.
whenever I fast,
Hmm.
I would feel much better.
Hmm.
And whenever I just start eating a lot and don't
Hmm.
have a fixed schedule, fixed
Hmm.
routine of my diet,
Hmm.
and what I'm eating, like if I'm eating random stuff,
Hmm.
I would my depressive symptoms used to become much worse.
Hmm.
So I started connecting the dots. Maybe that it's overeating or excessive consumption of sugar and
Hmm.
this fast food and everything
Hmm.
is the
Right.
reason. But the problem
Right.
was because I was depressed, I was too lazy to cook. I was staying
Correct.
alone,
Correct.
so it became like a self-feeding cycle. I'm depressed, so I'm eating fast food out of
Hmm.
self-pity, and that is
Hmm.
making me more depressed.
Okay. And then when did you get onto lithium? When did the psychiatrist recommend that pill?
Yeah. So after that city, I moved to another city,
Hmm.
which was closer to my home. So
Hmm.
there, I started going to another psychiatrist on recommendation of a family friend,
Hmm.
and that psychiatrist was the one who actually finally diagnosed me with bipolar. So
Hmm.
uh, they gave me lithium, and I
Hmm.
took lithium for almost 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I gained a lot of weight. And
Hmm.
at first, it made me feel normal, but then I started feeling numb because
Hmm.
yeah. Then what
Right.
happened? I'm not I'm not feeling sad, but I'm not feeling happy either. It just became
Hmm.
uh,
Comfortably numb.
yes, exactly. Not comfortably. I became uncomfortably numb because
Uncomfortably numb.
I
Hmm.
stopped feeling anything. Yeah,
Right.
I like that Pink Floyd reference.
Right.
Yeah, it again. I felt that I'm locked inside the wall. Like
Correct.
the like that guy in that album Pink. So
Correct.
yeah,
Another brick in the wall kind of thing.
exactly. So it stopped. I stopped feeling anything. But that fasting like self diagnosis I did,
Hmm.
I I can you can say I talked about that with my doctor and my doctor said, okay, go ahead and try it for like 1 or
Hmm.
2 weeks.
Hmm.
And I stopped, like, it didn't stop my medication entirely. I gradually reduced it and I
Hmm.
started fasting.
For how long?
I did this 21-day fast. Uh,
21-day fast.
Sorry, 21 days of
Acha.
experimental OMAD fast. Basically, I used to eat only one meal a day.
1 meal a day. Okay.
So it intermittent fasting for 21 days.
Hmm.
And in those 21 days, my mood was so stable that I thought, ki, why I didn't do this earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So my energy level was very stable.
And
No.
what would you eat in that meal if you can divulge that?
So at that time, I used to eat whatever is there at home.
Hmm.
So what I used to like, I stopped eating gluten as an experiment as well.
Okay.
So no wheat,
No meal.
only used to eat jawar and bajra roti,
Right.
lots of curd, eggs, at least
Right.
two, three eggs. So
Right.
try to make a balanced meal. So
And
there
meat?
was enough
Would you be
carbs.
eating meat?
Pardon?
Meat? What about animal products like meat?
So during those 21 days, no animal products because
Okay.
I used to eat only one meal a day and homemade only. So
Hmm.
at home, I'm not allowed to eat non-veg
Okay.
meat.
Okay.
Eggs was allowed, so I used to eat like 3 or 4 eggs and half
Okay.
a kg of curd and then 3, 4 jawar or bajra rotis
Okay.
and then yeah, and lots of salad. So
Lots of salad. Okay.
yeah, so basically it was supposed to be two times of meal in one single sitting.
Okay.
Yeah, but then again for the next 23 hours, I would not eat anything. So
Hmm. But
and
during that time, you would get proper sleep, feel rested, feel active. All of that would be fine.
exactly, my energy level was very stable. I won't say it was the fluctuations went away.
Okay.
So instead of feeling hyper energetic and then feeling the crash,
Hmm.
it was stable.
Hmm.
The roller coaster of life became
Hmm.
like a simple ride, I would say.
Okay. And then what happened? Like you've now gone off the lithium, right? How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Pardon, sorry.
So how did the process of getting off the medication happen?
So it was very tough to be honest. And one thing I missed was that I was taking antidepressants and lithium before my doctor switched me just on lithium. So
Okay.
when I stopped the antidepressants, then for 3, 4 days the withdrawal symptoms were there and it
Hmm.
was much worse and
Hmm.
it was very difficult to manage. I was in my office and I had a mental
Hmm.
breakdown in front of my colleagues.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was in a small town, like not a very
Right.
big city, so people were not very aware of mental health. They just started
Hmm.
lecturing me, ki, do this,
Hmm.
do that. They wouldn't understand ki, hota
So
kya hai
this is
bipolar
when
and
you had gone off the antidepressant.
yes, I was still taking lithium, but not antidepressants.
And what was the panic attack like? Like, what did you do? How did you behave?
So basically, I remember my colleagues were watching a cricket match,
Hmm.
and it was very loud. And at that time, maybe it was the withdrawal effect.
Hmm.
Loud noises were like bothering me a lot.
Hmm.
So it just put me I in a very highly triggered situation. I started
Hmm.
abusing them in office.
Okay.
I abused like a few of my colleagues, and
Hmm.
I'm not proud of it. I'm very
Sure.
that yeah, but it happened that time, and it made sense at that time. Ki I should just abuse
Hmm.
them and throw them off, and
Hmm.
I just lied down in my office and just uh, after half an hour just left. I said, ki, okay, I can't do this anymore,
Hmm.
and I was given work from home for some time by my manager. Like he was
Hmm.
understanding, but
Hmm.
my colleagues were not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened?
And then I just continued on lithium, and then
Hmm.
after lithium, and then I tapered down of lithium. So my
On the
dose,
on the advice of a psychiatrist.
yes,
Okay.
I don't really remember my maximum dose I used to take,
Hmm.
but over time, like instead of 2 pills a day, it became 1 pill a day, then 1 pill in 2 days, then half a pill
Okay.
in 2 days, and then I stopped gradually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was
And
all under the like guidance of the psychiatrist.
yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
But you were able to get off the medication through fasting and exercise also, right?
No, no. So I stopped the medicine first, and then I started the fasting part.
Okay. Okay.
Because then I had to be sure that this fasting is the reason and not the medication, which
And
is
now has this become part of your lifestyle now, or have you
yes.
gone
Like after like so I used to do 1 meal a day for the longest time. So
right,
almost for 1.5 year I was on 1 meal a day.
right,
And at that time I was not like regularly going to the gym. So
right?
I started going to the gym regularly.
Hmm,
My appetite increased, so I came back to 2 meals. But
hmm.
to maintain my fasting, I said stuck to morning and dinner. I started skipping lunch.
Okay, okay.
So
And
yeah,
now, how is your physical structure like? Are you overweight, weight, underweight, within the regular range? How is it?
I would say I'm slightly overweight,
Okay.
uh, and I'm not very active. Like I still go for running 3 4 days, but my
Hmm.
stamina has decreased because of winter laziness, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
my depressive symptoms are still there. I won't say that they've gone, or
Okay.
neither have my hypomanic phases gone away, but they
Okay.
are much more manageable.
They're manageable. How do you manage? Are you a smoker? Do you do any kind of drugs?
No, as of now, like I have quit alcohol. I always have hated smoking, so
Okay.
I've never like even took a puff of cigarettes ever in my life.
Okay.
I have consumed cannabis, but
Right.
that was again without tobacco for some reason.
Right.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
mm, and lately my only drugs of choice is caffeine.
Caffeine. Okay.
Yeah.
Black coffee?
No, I like milk.
You like
So
milk. Okay.
yeah, black coffee
Interesting
is
story. But
pardon.
tell me something. It's an interesting story, Sanyam. Is there
Yeah.
more to it, or shall I ask you some questions about it?
No, you can ask questions. I think I've put you
Great,
across everything.
great,
Yes.
great. So now that you say that you're off the medication and you're trying 2 meals a day with intermittent fasting
Mm,
and basic exercise through the week,
mm.
when you do feel depressed or when you do feel hypomanic, how do you manage those experiences?
So now when the depressive symptoms, whenever I feel them,
Hmm.
basically I just try to tell myself that this is going to pass.
Okay.
Because earlier when I didn't know about every all this, I used to feel that this is permanent and this is how it's
Hmm.
going to stay,
Hmm.
and that used to make me feel more depressed.
Hmm.
But now I know that this is just a phase.
Hmm.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed is that earlier it became for 3 4 months, like 4 5 months phase,
Correct. Correct.
but now it lasts only for days now. So
Okay.
it's only 3 4 days or 5 days max, like
Okay.
my depressive symptoms, and then the peaks have also decreased. So now it's not
Okay.
as bad as it used to be.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
yeah,
So,
so when I'm sorry,
yeah,
so
yeah,
when
go
I'm
on.
depressed, I just tell myself that this is going to pass. And when
Hmm.
I'm way too in my hypomanic phases, I just burn it out. Like I go for running or I just
Hmm.
do some strenuous physical activity so
Hmm.
that I just burn off that excess energy.
Interesting. So, have you tried exercising during a depressive phase?
I try, but my body just doesn't let me move.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just
So, viewers who have not got it by now, bipolar one is
mm,
essentially characterized by high mania and maybe some minor episodes of depression, while bipolar two, which Sanyam has been diagnosed with, is characterized by longer periods of depression and small periods of mania or hypomania. Right?
yes,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's interesting. So you basically have trained yourself to manage your depression through your mind, and in the hypomanic or manic phases, you burn the energy through exercise, right?
yes.
Interesting. Okay. Uh, but your psychiatrist is completely comfortable with you having these minor episodes?
Uh, so last actually I have not been to my psychiatrist in almost 1.5 years because
Okay.
they said that you are able to manage it on your own
Okay.
and you don't really need my help anymore. If you want, you can come and consult. But so
Okay.
yeah, I haven't. I have been managing for the last 1.5 years without
Interesting.
any psychiatric help or without any medication.
So just to get the timeline right, you were pretty much diagnosed when you got straight out of college, right? When you were 23, 22, 24, right? Is that
No,
when you is that when
my
you got the diagnosis of bipolar?
My actual bipolar diagnosis happened in 22. 20,
Okay, so 3 years back. Okay, and
yes,
you were in your mid 20s at that time.
yes,
Okay, great. Okay, so 3 years of bipolar diagnosis during which you were on antidepressants and lithium, right?
yes,
And you have basically gone off the medication now, but have replaced it intelligently enough with intermittent fasting, 2 meals a day, along with regular exercise,
yes,
right? Okay, great, awesome. And but this I find is quite impressive, and I want to talk to you more about it. Is that the depressive phase is basically quite strong, right? Because you have
yes.
bipolar 2,
Hmm.
and you are able to train your mind to say that I can fight through it because it's temporary. Right?
Exactly.
But the depressive, you have no control over when the depressive phase hits you, right? You could be at home, you could be at a party, you could be in office. So how do you handle that?
So for the last 1 year, I have actually been working from home.
Okay,
Basically, I would not reveal much, but I am not working in any
okay,
established job or company.
okay.
I'm yeah.
Neither am I a friend, so you can be rest assured about that. I am a freelancer and I've kind of started my own firm and I do podcasts and reels and stuff.
Oh yeah. So we are in the same boat. I'm also freelancer now.
Right, right,
So that's how I'm like. Uh, so I'm staying working from home. So I do travel sometimes
right,
whenever I can get my body moving out of the home.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
And you stay by yourself?
Uh, I it's complicated. It's on and off with my parents. Sometimes I stay
Oh,
with
okay,
them. Sometimes I stay alone.
okay, okay. So you have two houses in the same city, or how does it work? Or say in different floors?
No, it's like I have taken a place. Like I have rented out.
Okay, okay,
Like,
okay. Fantastic. Okay, great. So Saeem, now let's get down to some common connections that we have, right?
yes,
So
sure.
I have bipolar 1, you have bipolar 2. Okay. And you basically have gone off the medication while I haven't been able to do so yet. And I'm not on lithium, but I'm on some other mood stabilizer along with some medication for sleep, right?
Okay.
And if I don't take those, I don't get sleep. Okay. Uh, and I don't get hypomanic or manic episodes these days or even depressive episodes
Mm.
because I have a pretty good diet, lifestyle, and exercise thing planned out for myself. Okay.
Okay. Mm.
So, but when I worked and when I had to work for a bit in an environment which is like an office, it just didn't work out for me because of various reasons. Along with some of which was with the dynamic in the office, and some of which was with the kind of work that I was involved in. Okay, but what I have come to the conclusion, because I've had bipolar for 10 years now, is that bipolar is essentially a mismatch of energy in your body. Okay, your mental and physical energy needs to be united or unified in some way. Would you agree?
Yes, I would
Right?
agree here
You would
completely.
agree here, right? So, tell me something like the exercise which you do, like when you run 3, 4 days a week or you go to the gym, whatever, how long is it for and how intensive is it?
Uh, so when I was like doing it very regularly, I had progressed to almost 5 to 6 kilometers in one go.
Okay,
In running and swimming, I could like swim for 30 minutes straight.
okay,
But
wonderful.
yeah, but then winters happen, so the
Right,
swimming pools close off.
right, right,
Yeah, but like this the last winter, this winter which is still going, it
right,
has hit me like pretty bad.
right,
Maybe because of my work from home as well. So
right,
my stamina has decreased a lot now. Managing 1 kilometer is also a task, but I'm
right,
still force myself to do that.
right. Interesting. And what about yoga? Have you ever tried that?
Uh,
Any form of yoga, like whatever, any form of yoga.
yoga I've never really tried. I mean,
Okay,
I do stretching, but that's not yoga.
right, right, right. And are you interested in any creative activity, or did you have any creative activity you were interested in when you were a kid? Maybe any
As a
musical
kid,
instrument?
not really. In my teenage, I became a poet. I would say I used to write
Oh,
poems,
wow, nice, interesting.
a lot of poems. When I became a young adult in my early 20s,
Uh
it
huh.
turned into uh, story writing. I
Okay,
used to write satire, political satire, and
okay,
uh, psychological thrillers, like short stories.
okay,
And but lately, I'm and I am not writing anymore. Like in between,
Right.
I started writing autobiographical journaling and only.
Right.
And for the last 1 year, I am doing mandala art.
Okay. Interesting. So how do you see the road ahead for you? Like you're a freelancer. You're clearly not wedded to any company, right? And you have these creative skills within you, right? Do you see yourself leveraging these and making a career out of these? What's the way forward?
Surely, Harsh, Madrab, I would say whenever I'm like in my hypomanic phases, I feel so confident.
Right,
I can do whatever I want.
right.
But the problem is, I do feel that motivation. I do feel that energy. But
Hmm.
by the time I try to execute it, it fizzles off. So
Hmm.
I do have a lot of ideas that I can use my creative endeavors
Hmm.
somehow. Like I do feel like in my hypomanic phases, I feel like okay, I just should just pick up
Hmm.
a camera and go and take street interviews
Hmm.
and everything.
Like a
But
documentary of sorts or whatever.
exactly, like
Hmm.
there was a time I wanted to become a film director, like a
Okay.
film. Yeah, but again, by the
Hmm.
time I have to start executing my plans, it just
Hmm.
fizzles out.
Interesting. So why don't
So
you consider going back on the medication, sir? If you can handle it with your fasting and exercise, and if these mood imbalances are not really helping you out, have you ever considered going back on the medicine?
no, like simply because the kind of numbness I would feel
Hmm.
would not make me, because right now I'm able to get things done,
Right, right,
right? But with that numbness, I know I will like fall back into that isolation and everything.
right,
So
right.
at least I'm still able to feel something. So yeah, I would
Hmm.
prefer continuing this.
But you need to have a better grip on your moods. If you're feeling manic, then immediately translate that into something. If you're feeling depressed, then try to accordingly play your strategy as you created one.
Yeah. So lately I've like started one more thing. I'm putting or forcing myself into a schedule.
Okay.
So that is helping. It's been just 1.5 weeks.
Hmm.
I'll- Let's see how it goes because
Hmm. Interesting.
having a schedule helps.
Yeah, having should help. I can definitely testify to that. Like I never had a schedule for a long time, and then now I make sure that I sleep by a certain time, wake up by a certain time, go work out, eat properly, and have a proper plan regarding my diet and stuff. Hi, one thing more I want to check with you. You mentioned in your write up that you don't take gluten and you don't take dairy. Is that still the case?
So in dairy, I would say I told you that I do take coffee with
Right,
milk, but I
right, right.
don't drink raw milk anymore. So it's
Okay,
always heated with coffee. That's it.
okay. What about
And
cheese and eggs and stuff?
eggs I do consume. Cheese I'm not very fond of.
Okay,
It's weird, but being a North Indian, I don't like cheese or paneer.
okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and curd I can consume. I'm not very fond of it, but
Right,
on the nutritional benefits, eat it.
right. Because I can tell you from personal experience that B12 is really important because if you don't know by now, it is a nutrient which handles your nervous system,
Which
especially
nutrient? Can you please repeat the name?
vitamin B12.
Oh, vitamin B12. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is not present in any vegetable and vegetarian food. It's only present in animal-based sources and protein. Yeah. So I learned it the hard way because my B12 was low when I came back to Calcutta for my diagnosis. It was low, it was within the range for India, but India's range is anyway on the lower side. If you look at
Okay.
even Japan, you know. So you should make sure
Um,
you have your regular and prescribed consumption of B12 to whatever food sources you
no, I
take.
do consume. Take this multivitamin, so I think that should
Okay, you take a
cover it.
multivitamin. Okay,
And I
B.
also take omega 3 oil, like fish
Okay,
oil.
okay, wonderful, wonderful. Great. Okay, so yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about, Sayam. If you want to have a further discussion, I'm happy to chat with you more. Tell me.
Yeah, definitely. So you said like by so one thing I wanted to know,
Hmm.
like on a very personal level,
We are still recording, by the way. Huh? I haven't stopped the
that's
recording.
fine.
Huh. Yeah.
So because I am neurodivergent in some form,
Hmm.
I am not not able to relate very well with the so-called neurotypical people. I
Hmm.
find them very boring. When I try
Hmm.
to talk to them, it
Hmm.
I just lose the conversation in between. But whenever I meet another neurodivergent person, like
Hmm.
someone who has ADHD or someone
Hmm.
who has gone through depression or
Hmm.
someone who is autistic, I
Hmm.
gel very well with them. So how is
Hmm.
your experience in this?
So over here, so Sanyam, my experience is very limited here because, in my opinion at least, there are millions of people in India, for sure, at least in India, I don't know about across the world, who are bipolar without knowing it. Okay, they are
Yeah.
diabetic because they have basically tried to overcome their mental speed and mind through food,
Mhm.
and they gain weight and they munch on sweets and eat junk, so they're diabetic. Right?
Yeah.
But as far as comes to my experience now, when I look back, I haven't really met any other people who are bipolar, or any adults at least who are bipolar, autistic, dyslexic, or ADHD. You know, I haven't met them in so far, so I don't know how I'll react to that.
Okay. Yeah, because back in my school, like till my schooling, I
Hmm.
was the only non neurotypical I
Hmm.
knew. So I couldn't
Hmm.
really relate with a lot of people.
Hmm.
Like I did have some friends with their own share of traumas.
Hmm.
So with them I could bond, but all the normie, I would say the word normie. So
Hmm.
with the normies, the
Hmm.
conventional people, I could never really gel well
Hmm.
with. And when I went to college, like my college was I won't give more information, but
Hmm.
my college had students from all over the country.
Hmm.
So I started meeting people of different cultures and
Hmm.
different social strata,
Hmm.
and there I could find some people
Hmm.
with whom I could relate.
Hmm.
And the same thing happened in my masters.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
and all of my friends, like all of my close friends now,
Hmm.
I'm not very proud of the thing, but none of my close friends, I
Hmm.
would say, are socially or not, conventionally mentally healthy people. All of them have their own set of issues.
Hmm. Yeah, it's possible that it goes under the radar. I'm sure there are tons of people out there who are depressed or
Hmm.
have anxiety or have ADHD without being diagnosed by it. It's
Yeah.
quite simple like that. The only other thing that I want to check with you was that, for instance, I'm on mood stabilizers, which are not lithium. Right?
Okay.
So earlier, when I got diagnosed with bipolar in Calcutta, they gave me some medicines. I don't think it was lithium, but I would feel numb and very low. Okay.
Okay.
Then I finally met the psychiatrist on the recommendation of a friend, and
Hmm.
he changed my medication and he put me on one medication in the evening, 4 hours before sleeping, and some before sleeping or after dinner. Okay,
Okay.
so that has really helped me out. Okay,
Uh,
so
would you be comfortable sharing the name of that medication?
uh, yeah, I don't know what it is exactly because my mom looks at the prescription and sends that. But I would definitely ask you to. I can WhatsApp it to you or I can mail it to you once you take a look at it.
Yeah,
But
surely.
what I could definitely recommend is that given that you are still not completely in control of your mood swings,
Hmm.
you should check with your psychiatrist about for medication apart from lithium, which doesn't numb you.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
lithium, it
because
was not just numbness; it was also like the water weight. Like,
yeah, exactly, it makes you overweight also. Like in my medicines make me overweight.
okay.
So that's what I would say that you should definitely ask them for an alternative to lithium. Lithium is not the only mood stabilizer out there. There are others. You know.
Okay.
So tell them that I've been fasting, I've been exercising, all of that, but I still can't ride the waves, so to speak, of
Hmm.
my mind because the peaks and lows are too extreme even now, right?
Yeah. So.
And there is no shame in being on medication for a longer period of time because I've been on medication for 10 years now, and now I know what it does to me. Like I don't know about you, but I've become a very self-aware person that I realize that whatever I intake, what it does to my mind, especially what it does to my mind, whether it drugs it, whether it makes me feel happy, whether it makes me feel sad. So I have planned my diet also accordingly. I don't traditionally come from a meat eating background. I'm from Marwari family, so I only used to eat
Okay.
eggs apart from veggies while growing up. Then I switched to eating meat after college, during college and after. Then I turned vegan and gluten free for a bit. Then I again started eating meat. So I experimented a lot with various diets to see how it affects me. And these days I do eat eggs regularly, and I have chicken. Try to have chicken once a day because I can't have it in the house. Like similar to your case, I can't have meat in the house. So I would definitely suggest to you that you could consider having pills for a longer duration
Okay.
till you can safely assure yourself that I can manage my mind. I know when it goes up, I know when it goes down, I know how I can harness it, and
Hmm.
that I can make use of my hypomania, and that I can address my depression. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, I did so like again some personal info,
Hmm.
but like during my last relationship,
Hmm.
my girlfriend did suggest me that I should go back on medication,
Right.
and I did consider it for some while.
Right.
But then I thought that is it really that weight gain and that numbness and that lack
Hmm.
of motivation is
Hmm.
really worth it because at least now I'm
Hmm.
able to get things done. That's what I think
Right.
I told you earlier as well.
Right. Right.
That
Right.
so when I was on
So, so
lithium,
yeah, that's your call. You need, if the lithium doesn't work for you,
yeah.
tell the doc that I would like to try something apart from lithium. I'll check with my prescription and mail it to you as to what I'm on, and you can check with your psychiatrist whether that is available in your city or what does he or she think of that medication.
Okay. Huh, like definitely, but it's like uh, gamble, I would say.
Up, yeah, so
Taking,
see, bipolar is a gamble too. I'm telling you, doctors don't know what it means. They've studied about it, they've done experiments on it, but only a bipolar person knows what it means to have those kind of thoughts, fluctuations, moods, changes in behavior. These are not easy to comprehend from a medical text. You know,
yes.
that's where I'm coming from. Okay. Anything else, Ayam, that you'd like to check, run by me? Otherwise, you can pause the recording and we can have a casual chat post the recording.
Yeah, I think I would like to keep like talk for a more, but yeah, it's up to you whether you want to keep recording or not.
Sure, sure.
I'm
So,
fine with both.
yeah, I'll stop the recording now. Thank you so much, Sayam, for taking out time from your weekday routine to
Mhm.
talk with us. It was a pleasure. And I hope this podcast helps people out there with bipolar 2 or with bipolar 1 also to understand what they can do to manage their life better.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I like before we close, I would like to say ki, whatever I've done, it's mostly self-experimentation, like fasting
Yeah.
and everything. So I would
Yes.
not recommend it to everyone ki you should fast because it
Hmm.
might not work for them. It works for
Correct.
me, doesn't mean it will work for others. So yeah, that
Correct.
is like a disclaimer we should attach.
Correct, correct. Definitely, definitely. I agree with you completely that whatever you do at your own risk. Do know that your body and mind are not normal in the traditional sense. And for instance, like say for fasting works on Sanyam, I would never be able to fast because when I don't intake food for a few hours, my mind starts to race and I get all kinds of strange moods and stuff. So fasting will never work for me. So each to each his own, and I can only wish other bipolars safe and happy journey as they go about their lives. Right? Sayam, anything else?
No, that would be all.
Awesome. So I'll close this podcast and then we'll chat a bit.